Good morning, it's Sue again. Today is Wednesday, September 17th. I am pre-recording these videos this week to share some ideas I have with you. Thank you for joining me. I'm really happy that you can do that. I'm dispensing with my usual announcements and all the other stuff. We're just going to be making cards this week, each morning. I did do a live, which all the usual stuff on Monday, but the rest of this week, we're just doing the short version of all of this. I'm not even working off of any notes, which is, for me, amazing because I always work off notes. So I'm going to point the camera down and we will get started. This is the card we made yesterday on Tuesday. We did a chair rail card, which was fun. We used Seasons of Elegance. I don't know if you've seen that paper. It's in our annual catalog. It's lovely. And I did go back and I put I talked yesterday about stamping off and putting a little tree behind that, and I thought that looked cute. I did that for you yesterday. All right, today we're doing something called a backfold card. And this was the first backfold card that I made. Who was I watching? It'll come to me. I'll think of her name. Anyway, I've seen this done before, but she was showing how to make like a birthday card, and I thought, oh, that'll make a good Christmas card. You know, lots of different cards. So you open it like that, and so that's why it's called back fold. And you use designer series paper and things and put a focal point on there of some sort. So today we're going to use some paper. Let's see, it's the Delicate Pines Snowflakes. That's what it is. And I've shared that paper before. And this is what our card is going to look like. Pretty much going to look like this today. And I used the Delicate Pines Snowflakes patterned paper. It does this back fold thing like this. And I have a little trick on how to make designer series paper strong enough to be this focal point and to hold up when you make it. Because if you just use designer series paper, it would tear very easily. So I do have a little hint about that one. Alrighty. So, I don't think I wrote down on my little notes about all the sizes of this stuff, so I'm just going to have to tell you what they are, and then I do have it typed up for you at the end. So, this card base today is 5.5 by 7.5, so it's a ½ inch shorter than what you're used to using. So you have to bring your arm out and you do the 5.5 thing, and then you cut it at 7.5. Then you'll score it at 3.25 is your first score. Park your dark, and you'll score it at 3.25, and then just slide it over, because you want a 1-inch score on this end, and there's on the right side of your scoring trimmer. Oops, get that even. There's a 1-inch mark, and you can just slide this. It's getting stuck right there. There we go. Just slide it to 1 inch and score for your 1 inch. So now you have, this is the part that flips back, and this one will flip forward. Okay, so that's how you score that. So 5.5 by 7.5. Dropped my measurements. I can't have that. I have to have those in front of me. You will need 3 pieces of white, and they're all the same size. These basic whites are 3 by 5.25. 3 by 5.25. Okay, cut 3 of them. 2 of them are going to be layers, and one's going to be for the inside. That will go right in the middle, right there. Then your designer series paper, and I made mine match for these 2 layers out of my Delicate Pine Snowflakes pattern, and I cut 2 of these at 2 7/8 by 5 1/8, And I'm going to use 2 pieces of these white that I already cut, and they're going to layer on here, okay? And then, like I said, that third one's going to be my inside piece. Then I have a piece, there it is. So I have one more piece of white. This is 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4, and that's going to be a layer. And then I have coordinating DSP. Now you can use the same pattern if you want. I just picked a different pattern from the same designer series set, and this one is 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4 inch. Okay, I think that's 5 1/8. I think I made a mistake. It's 5 1/8 because it is smaller. It is shorter. This should be an 1/8. Yep, and that's going to go over here on the edge. So I'm going to just start by doing some gluing and getting everything put together. I just need a little mat here so I make a minimum of mess. Turn these upside down, and it doesn't take a lot of glue. I'm just going to put a little wiggly glue here and put that right there. So that white piece was 5 1/4, but the designer series paper, this is 5 1/8 by 3/4. Okay. And again, I'll put those measurements up there for you when we're done. And I'll show you some other examples. So I'm going to bring back in my card, and this goes over on this 1 inch place where we scored 1 inch, and that goes right on the edge, okay, with that nice little border of white, just like that. Okay, so these are going to be the front of the card and then the inside of the card. And I do want those to match. I mean, you could decide to do it differently. You could decide to use different pattern of paper. You know, it's your card, whatever makes you happy. But the designer series paper just fits right on top of that. Just a tiny bit smaller, a 1/16 of an inch smaller. So it's just very, very narrow white border. And the same for this one. And I'm not going to glue those on quite yet because I'm going to put some ribbon on, and I want the ribbon to go in between these so that it doesn't show. So I am going to use, all this stuff is linked in my description. This is the gold striped mesh band ribbon, and you need approximately 18 inches of this. I like to have plenty of room to tie things. So I'm going to tie this, burnish this. I'm going to tie it close to the fold line. Well, I'm not going to tie it yet. I'm just going to lay it in here, and I am going to tie it after I get the paper on, but I do want it to stay there. So our helpful Mr. Magic Tape, I don't want that to show, of course. So just put that there. So now I can glue one of those on. They're both exactly the same. So I'm just going to glue this one on. And this is on the inside, actually. centering this. Make sure you just put it beside the fold but not on the fold. And so I've got my ribbon peeking out of there. So now I fold it back and I grab my other piece and I can glue this on, and then I can tie my ribbon. This back fold is just really a great versatile fold. Now you can tie a bow. I'm just going to tie a knot in this. And then there's the 18 inches is plenty of room for a bow if you like bows. But I'm just going to tie that in a knot. I'm going to take my ribbon scissors, give it a quick little trim there. And I have it just like that. Okay. Now I got some red on that. We'll have to use the other side. So I'm going to do the inside of my card. What should I do? Okay, warm winter wishes. Let me know where I got that. I got it from Delicate Pines. So, warm winter wishes. And since I was using Pretty Peacock, I'm going to use Pretty Peacock ink. And these are photopolymer stamps, so it's always smart to use a Stampin' Pierce mat when you do that. Oh, I put warmest. Oh, I'm putting that on the front, I think. I did this one differently. Yeah, I did this one differently. I'm putting warm winter wishes on the front of this card. So I think we'll just pivot here very quickly and see if that doesn't really fit. One of these will fit. This is from Peaceful Seasons. They have lots of wonderful sentiments on this one. Wishing you all the things that warm your heart and lift your spirits. That's a nice one. Yep, there it is. Okay, we're in business again. I better use this one. Okay, and it's always smart for me to practice at least one time. Here I am with this ink pad open. It's a miracle I haven't put my arm in it yet. Although I think I'm wearing Pretty Peacock, so. Trying to get that straight. Okay, warm winter wishes. All right, so that's the inside of my card. And I just need to add sometimes this comes off the rails. There it is, back on the rails. All right. And just center that. See, now I didn't get that very centered right to left. So I'm going to look for a little snowflake or something. Yes. I'm going to look for a little snowflake. Where's my square? There it is. And stamp a little snowflake over here to try to make that look a little more even. There, just lightly evens it up just a little bit. Okay, so now the trick on the front for that little piece, I cut out, I got this pattern of designer series paper because it had this snowflake in it, and in the snowflake set, the Delicate Pines, Delicate Pines, it had this die which fit on this snowflake with no stamping required. I mean, you can stamp it and color it if you want, but I thought, I think I might let the designer series paper do the work for me here. So I just cut that out, and I taped it with the removable tape on the back. So I could just show you how I just cut that out of the paper, and I'm going to use that. But the designer series paper, using it to hold this closed is really hard. The designer series paper just isn't strong enough. So I used that same die, and I used heavy white cardstock, and I cut the same piece out of that so that I can use it as a back and make this stronger. So I'm just gonna slip this around, and this is where glue is really handy, because I want to make this match exactly. I'm going to put some glue right in the middle and place this on. I have a few minutes to just put that on and make it fit. Okay, so now it's got the heavy white cardstock on the back of my designer series paper, and that's what I'm going to use for my little hinge-like thing. I'm not sure what you call it, but that's going to be for that. And I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals on the back of this. I'm just going to look and see about where I want those to be, because I only want them to be on this section over here. Okay, I don't want it to close my card shut, because that's what this back fold thing is for. And I think even if someone who got this, if they weren't familiar with how it works, they would soon figure it out, that you fold it back to open it. Okay, and you can probably see the dimensionals are just on that little 1-inch strip. You can even put the dimensionals directly on this strip, you know, right together, if that makes you more comfortable putting them on that way. All right, so then I took a piece of scrap paper and I stamped. That's where I used the Warmest Winter Wishes. I stamped that first with my pretty peacock, and then I used the textured notes dies, and I used the smallest one right here, the smallest one in the middle, to cut it out. And I'm going to have my sentiment just right down here. Okay. And I think I'm just going to glue it flat, because I've got all this popped up over here. So I think I'll just glue this down flat. Keep it all on that front section, just like that. So you just bend the card back and open it up. Now you could decorate with more stuff on the inside, you know, whatever you want. Both of these sets, the Peaceful Season has just wonderful sentiments in it. Delicate Pines has a few sentiments in it. And then Traditional Labels has quite a few sentiments. And it also has dies. If you buy it in a bundle, it also has these label dies, which are very, very handy for more than just Christmas. And I got ink on this, I'm sorry. I think you can still read it. So I also have a few of these gems, and these came with the Delicate Pines. So they have the Cherry Cobbler, they have gold, this is kind of a granny apple green, and they, so different pretty little berries. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put one right there in the center of that one. And I think that's probably all I'm gonna do on that for gems, is just add that one. And I want to share with you some other cards so you can see. Those are the cards. I made the same card with the same paper of the one I showed you at first. We move like 9,000 things here. These are the dimensions that you need. You can screenshot this. The Pretty Peacock was 5.5 by 7.5, scored at 3 1/4 and 1. Remember, those are opposite ends. Your basic white, you need 3 by 5 1/4. You have to cut 3 of those. And then the 3/4 by 5 1/4 was this white one over here. And then a scrap for the sentiment. The heavy white was to back this piece of designer series paper so that it would be firm enough to hold this card closed, and then you could flip it to open and it would withstand that. So that was about 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 to cut that out. Designer series paper, you cut the 1 3/4 inch snowflake from the DSP, as well as matching the heavy white cardstock. Now the DSP, I'm just going to grab that real quick to show you. The piece that this came from is this piece. It has these snowflakes on the back, which is identifying, but it has some big snowflakes that and Friday I have a great card for this. I can't wait to show you Friday's card. The big snowflake cuts out these snowflakes, and then the smaller snowflake cuts out these little snowflakes like this. And what you have to do to get those snowflakes is you cut out, like this one was on the corner. I was lucky I had a whole one, or I could cut this one out right here to get that snowflake. But I usually strategically cut these out so I can put them through the cut and emboss machine, and I can go through and cutting. And like I said, Friday's card, I use all these snowflakes, and it's so pretty. Your socks are going to be knocked off, I tell you. The card is so cool. So that's what I got that one from, where I got this little snowflake, the piece of paper. Then Delicate Pine Snowflake pattern number 1, you cut 2 of those. Remember, one for the outside and one for the inside. And then the Delicate Pine Snowflake pattern number 2, which was this long skinny piece, was 3/4 by 5 1/8. I made a mistake on that, so 1/8. You need about 18 inches of ribbon. You're not quite as much. If you're going to do a bow, you would probably need 18 inches. If you're just doing the knot thing, you know, you could probably get by with 16. And the traditional sparkling sequins, you can just sprinkle those around as much as you want. I just put one on mine, but you can just knock yourself out with as many sequins as you would like to put on there. But anyway, I have some other examples of these cards. Now on this one, I used a little bit different paper. It was the paper where you cut out the snowflakes. I used that paper on this one. And since this also has Misty Moonlight in it, it has Pretty Peacock in it, it has Misty Moonlight in it, I heat embossed white embossing powder on the Misty Moonlight and cut it out with that same die. And I still put the white cardstock on the back, the heavy white. I still put that on there to make it stronger. And I used one of these little stars, and I used a white ribbon on this one, and I put some more little stars down here, some clear stars on that one, and stamped some snowflakes on it. So that made a really cute one, doing the heat embossing, similar but a little different. And I didn't change the paper over here. I kept the same paper. I didn't change that. This one was from paper last year that I had. It was really pretty. It was cherry cobbler and gold and white, and some of it was these musical notes, which were really pretty. And then it kind of went with this paper with the little hollies and berries on it. And again, I used to cut this one out. I used Spotlight on Nature. Yeah, the dies from Spotlight on Nature. And I used that little circle with the white on the back. And I used the red over here, and I used the red on the circle, and then I used the white with the holly berries and stuff on the front and the back, and I added the ribbon. I added a sentiment on that. And another one I did was an autumn one, and I had a big leaf cut out, and again, I backed it with, because even though that was cardstock, I backed it with some of the heavy white so that it would be strong enough and stand up to the opening and closing thing. But that was from our Gathering Together autumn paper, and it made a beautiful autumn card also. You can use a leaf to do that little doodad at the top. So those are some of our cards that we have that we made using this back fold. It's a very easy fold, and I think you'll enjoy that. Flip that back up. I figured out what I did wrong on yesterday's of stopping the record. I didn't press the right button. I was pressing the wrong button, as usual. But anyway, tomorrow, I can't remember exactly. Oh, I think it's a flip-flap card tomorrow, and then Friday is the one with all the snowflakes on it, and it is so pretty, so pretty, and I think you'll really like that one. So I hope to see you here tomorrow, 9 o'clock, and we'll do a quick card. All right, we'll see ya. Bye-bye.